accepted, challenge accepted. Reality is always challenge accepted. Challenge accepted, challenge accepted. Reality is always challenge accepted.
And now let's keep the momentum going with our next speaker.
Martin Chaov is no stranger to Dev Challenge Accepted stage.
He is a lead software architect at DraftKings and a seasoned expert in system design and performance.
Today, Martin will guide us through the world of feature flags.
So raise your flags, toggle your features, and salute Martin Chaov!
Thank you, thank you. Good afternoon. Is my mic on? Okay. My slides are up, my mic is on, seems fine. Welcome to Mastering Feature Flags in 25 minutes or so. I promise you this is highly opinionated. It's based on my personal experience and our company experience with feature flags. So take it with a grain of salt. Maybe your situation is slightly different. By the way, do we have people here using feature flags? We have more people using them on this side of the room. Are you by any chance working for us? Okay, no. So, why this topic? So the business usually needs some kind of flexibility, and feature flags are giving us this kind of flexibility. They might not be appropriate for everyone, right? But what's a feature flag? So let's take a flag, give it a name, feature version 2. For this to be a feature flag, it needs to have some kind of variations. What's variations? Well, it can be on or off, or it can have many other variations, but let's, for the sake of simplicity, keep it with just 2 of them. So, in order for this to be useful, we need to have something else. This something else is called user segments, or demographics, or groups, or any other way of reasonably putting it. So this way we can say feature version 2 is going to be available to our mobile users and not available to our desktop users. Feature flags actually allow us to do something very interesting. They allow us to release to a portion of our audience, to say, give this feature to 30% of my audience. And by the way, it would be very useful if I can start with 30% of the people, and as my adrenaline goes down and I start feeling more comfortable, expand the audience dynamically. So how does that happen? Well, there is a backend behind this, a backend that gives us the ability to control the feature flag values, the audience, the user segments, and they allow us to actually ramp up the rollout, give it to more people as the feature proves successful. How the feature proves to be successful or not, this is based on business KPIs, which are being monitored. As soon as we get high confidence, we can release the feature to the entire population. This is basically the first use case of feature flags, flexible rollout and rollback. The whole point of this is to actually decouple the deployment of source code from the actual release of the feature. Very useful. The second thing that we are doing with feature flags is the so-called beta testing or deployment rings. What's a deployment ring? Deployment ring is my beta channel users or my insider build users. Probably you're familiar with getting a beta build of the operating system where you can see the newest features, but also experience the newest undocumented features, the so-called bugs. Another thing is to customize experiences. This is where we're starting to discuss user segmentation in a lot more details. This is about your A/B testing. This is about customer engagement testing and things like that. Now, this might start to sound awfully familiar, like remote configuration, but don't be fooled. Feature flags are not remote configuration. In fact, if there is only one message that you remember from my talk today, is that feature flags are not remote configuration. There are brutal fundamental differences. Remote configuration is about global application settings, environment configurations. They're about how the product as a product work, they might even require a restart of the application to change. Now, feature fucks, they're fine-grained control over features based on the user segments. This is something that the business requires to be able to do engagement tests and to drive its revenue higher. Now, feature fucks, they are more user-related. They are changing in real time. This is a change that's pushed, and the application is expected to react to the feature fuck. So, feature fucks, they have multiple dimensions while remote configuration is fought. What does it mean, multiple dimensions? Now, this is where the opinionated part starts. We have defined at the DraftKings dimensions that work for us. I'm going to share them with you, but this does not mean that you need to use them as is. We've split them into 3 main dimensions. One is the purpose of the fuck. Is it about releasing new content? Is it about experimentation? Is it about something operational? Or is it about permissions? And I'm going to give examples a bit later about each one of them. Then the next dimension is time. Long-lived or short-lived. Short-lived could be considered one release cycle. One long-lived could be considered 2 or more release cycles. Now, depending on your release cycle, if you release once a year, you know, short is a flexible term. The next dimension is the scope. Is this affecting the system as a whole, or is it affecting a certain demographic of users of that system? To give you a lot more context about this, let's try to create a feature fuck. To do that, we're going to fill the feature fuck passport. We're going to create name, type, scope, when it was created, who created it. We're going to note something very interesting. When it's expected for this feature fuck not to be used anymore. We're going to put the current status, the optional values of it, and note that even if you have a Boolean fuck, you actually always have 3 possibilities. Think about it. It can be true, it can be false, or it can be undefined. And you need to define the 3 behaviors as well. But for the sake of simplicity, today Boolean fucks have 2 values. Then we need to specify dependencies. Those could be services, could be teams, could be specific team functions, like QA or engineer or on-call engineer and so on. Fallback version, fallback behavior, and changelog. This is how we move on to create a fuck. So the documentation is the first step in creating a feature fuck. Why do we need documentation? I will expand a bit on later, but documentation is crucial for you doing feature fucks. The creation phase of a feature fucks includes adding the fuck to the source code, documenting the behaviors behind it, adding it to the feature fuck management system. Feature fuck management system is the place where we keep all of our feature fucks together. Then, after it's created, we need to verify our assumptions about the code, test the different cases, understand if it's work, deploy, activate, and this is where things start to become interesting. Obviously, we monitor the system to understand if it's working and everything is fine, but what happens here? Here we become more confident. Our feature fuck works. Let's create another. Let's create one more. Let's create one more. Bam! Suddenly, something else happens. Now, the human mind is a beautiful thing, but it cannot comprehend exponential behaviors very well. So what will happen is that there will be explosion in code complexity related to feature fucks. Let's take something from our reality. Our reality, I mean DraftKings. We have many teams that are collaborating on multiple product verticals. So if one team wants to release a new version of how we do deposits, and we have another team that is working on migrating to a new MFA provider, and we have another team working on some user experimentation about cores, teams, and so on, and we have a different type of team which is working on a customized experience for some of our VIP users. Are those flags connected in any way? Do they look connected? Yes, no? Yes, no? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. Apparently, nobody intended for those flags to be connected, at least from higher point of view. But what happens at the end of the day is you get a function like this, and I'm going to give you half a minute to just digest what's there. So if I want to process a deposit, I need to know if this is going to version 2 of deposit. I need to know if the login migration is enabled for this specific user and they are onboarded to the new MFA system. I need to know if that's a VIP flow which is not yet migrated to the new login system and needs to go to a different flow, or I need to still support the legacy deposit flow V1 if this is not enabled. And by the way, there is a new core theme that needs to be applied to this feature. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the cyclomatic complexity of this code is 8. Does it look right? I'm not asking if 8 is the right cyclomatic complexity. I'm asking if it looks sufficient. Yes? No? You're not very confident in this code? Well, I'm not either. Because if you have 4 flags with 2 values each, the permutation gives you 16 permutations, not 8. So cyclomatic complexity of 8 is not sufficient to handle all the possible variations of these flag values. And this becomes more interesting with the number of flags. If you have 10 flags with 2 values, you're getting 1,000 plus permutations. And by the way, that's not a problem of the number of flags, it's a problem of the exponent. Can you guess how large is this number on top of your head? It's incomprehensible. By the way, do we have any QAs left over from the party last night? Somebody between the chairs? I've seen 3, 4 people, 10 maybe. Would you like testing that system? Yes, I heard both. Maybe you can fight afterwards. How many of you would like to do automation testing for that system? It feels like building a pyramid with stone masonry tools. By the way, at DraftKings, we on average have around 100 flags with on average 4.2 values each. So we have flags with 2 values, but we have ones with 7 or 8. How do we manage that? Well, we obviously are not testing multiple billions of permutations that are untestable. What we do is we define clear guidelines on how to do feature flagging and how to define which flag can be enabled and which cannot. So we actually create dependency tree between the flags. So if your flag is enabled, 5 other flags cannot be enabled for the same user segment. The outcome of this feature flagging, if you don't take it into account beforehand, is a huge testing overhead. The system is basically untestable, not in manual way, not in automated way. But this is not the only thing. Can you imagine your customer support team getting a permutation, one permutation of those 3 billion permutations before? Are they trained to handle a user that has problems today? Do they know how to report it? To whom? So troubleshooting, customer support, these become very, very tough. Not even discussing expensive. They become impossible. Another thing that becomes impossible, are you guys sometimes doing rollbacks? No? You're the best developers, best engineers in the world, never done a rollback? So maybe you will be surprised, but sometimes it happens for other engineers, not you obviously, to do rollbacks. And when you have feature flags, it can be as easy as turning the flag off. And that's very nice. But what happens if you need to do a rollback of the source code? What we are actually rolling back here? Do we need to roll back the flags to a different value? Do we need to roll back the flags configuration? for all the user segments together with the source code and restart the system somehow. What are we going to do in this case? So rollbacks become very, very complicated very, very fast. So an immediate consequence of this is that we don't remove flags. We hard code them as on, and we just leave them on or off. And then we get system bloat, we get the so-called zombie features. We get a feature which is behind the feature flag, which is constantly off, but we are afraid to remove the feature flag because it's used in 20 other places or 100 other places, or because somebody decided to reuse the name as a global variable or something like this. Now, this is very, very hard to manage, obviously. But also, there's more. We have problems with resilience. We can have problems with performance, with monitoring. Let's say somebody changed the feature flag, and the error rate of the application suddenly spikes. Is the feature flag responsible for the change of error rate? How do we correlate a change of feature flag to change of our KPIs? How do we correlate multiple changes of feature flags with multiple changes of our KPIs? And our observability now becomes even more complicated. This is why there should be a very strict and rigorous process when we enable feature flags. This should be treated as code deployment. So changing a feature flag should follow the same process, same approvals, and so on as deployment of actual source code. But wait, there's more. How do you do auditing? How do you do security? Do we use feature flags on the backend, out of curiosity? Anyone? Please don't. Please don't. So imagine it like this. You have a working service, tested, working, tens of weeks of uptime. And now you're going to add branches in the code and redeploy the working service. Isn't it easier to just deploy different service with different behavior and route some traffic to it? So feature flags, it's very easy to fall into the trap of adding them to your microservices and other types of services that you have. Try to avoid that. It's a huge pitfall of feature flagging. It can lead you to unnecessary incidents. Don't redeploy working service for no reason. Just have another instance of it working. Let's get back quickly to process. To be successful with feature flags, you need to know when you're going to deactivate the feature flag. What does it mean to deactivate feature flag? Now, different types of feature flags have different repercussions upon deactivation. Obviously, we need to understand if this is becoming now a de facto feature. We did the A/B testing. It was successful. Branch A should remain. We need to immediately delete. We need to clean up the source code. We need to clean up the flag management system. We need to remove those things from the source code. Once we remove the flag from the source code and configure it as off state in the feature flag management system, we can decide what's the next best course. We can do immediately decommission of the flag, or we can leave it in the system for a while in case of surprising code rollback. So what's a decommission? I'm not using deletion here on purpose. Decommission is not deletion. Decommission is the time where we archive the feature flag. This is the place where we say this feature flag has run its course, its name is not available to any new feature flags in case we need to do rollback or we need to unarchive something. This name can no longer be used. Now this feature flag is moved away from the management system and it's kept only for archival or auditing purposes. Auditing purposes, what does it mean? It means that if you're working in a regulated market, you will need to be able to provide few years back information on who deployed what were the permissions, what was the result, and so on. Again, decommission is not deletion. Key takeaways. Documentation is super important. Documentation is the first place where you need to go when you have a problem with the feature flag. And besides the passport that I showed you earlier, the documentation needs to include links to dashboards, source code, on-call engineer, and many more things. What's the purpose behind the flag, why it was created, when it was decommissioned, and if it's past its decommission date, this should be a red flag. Complexity, beware of complexity. Manage complexity very carefully with feature flags. One of the ways we do this very effectively is by, I'm going to call it anti-affinity, for a lack of a better word, but if this flag has this value, the other flag cannot have this value, and build a dependency map like that. And usually what will happen is that when you try to build, let's say, a user segment for experimentation, I want to get everybody who has the latest and greatest mobile phone with this version of our software and give them something. And the feature flagging management system will actually tell you, you cannot enable this for this list of users because they already have that enabled from another experiment. This is invaluable. Without this, just don't do feature flags. Or do one, like one at a time. One size fits all. Definitely feature flags are not for everybody, not for all kinds of systems, not for all kinds of software. Usually, there has to be a business driver behind using feature flags. If not, purely from release point of view and stability point of view, you may still use them, but by definition, release, the type of flags that are used for release, they don't really have dependencies if your features don't have dependencies. Process. Trust the process, follow the process. If you don't want to follow the process to change the process. With feature flags, it's very easy to shoot yourself in the foot. There are reasons why the process is strict and why it's defined like this. And although it may be different in different companies, the reasons and the pain that was inflicted by damage from feature flags actually informed the creation of this process. Thank you very much. I have a few minutes for questions, I believe.
Yes, we have about 9 minutes for questions. Do you have any questions?
People are hungry. I didn't want to keep them.
Please
Yes?
raise your hand and you'll get a mic. A mic for Rado. There's second question.
Out of curiosity, do you have some internal tool that visualizes the dependencies and the anti-affinity that you mentioned? Because if you have 10 feature flags with the anti-affinity rules there, it's still kind of hard to visualize the connections.
So this is not an advertisement, but we are buying our feature flag management system, and it gives us all of these things out of the box. I don't want to give this kind of company names and so on stage, but ping me in the corner and I'll tell you what exactly we're using. I believe there was another question somewhere.
I have a question for
Shoot.
you. For you all. Do you remember what happened last year with the Dev of the Year award? Some of you maybe remember, some of you maybe don't.
Last year there was a fierce competition for our Dev of the Year award.
Yes, and it came down to a very, very, very small margin between two amazing developers, Anton and Martin himself.
This year, the organizers of Dev Challenge accepted events saw that there was one standout that everyone kept talking about.
Martin is a person who's been charting the course of strategic projects aimed at system quality, performance and AI tech at DraftKings. Not just content but leading, his committed mentor, guiding team leaders through the nuances of SDLC.
Outside the office, Martin is nothing short of a community builder, whether it's fueling Hackafe Plovdiv or crafting courses in collaboration with Sofia University. He is the guy making it happen. He's also an invaluable ally to event organizers across many platforms, speaking at many conferences worldwide, including our very own Challenge Accepted events.
On Friday, he did a wonderful workshop for architects, and you just enjoyed his talk. In short, Martin doesn't just contribute code, he writes the narrative for what community and professional development should look like in IT. So we're excited to announce that there's one person truly deserving the Dev of the Year 2024 award, and this is a complete surprise for him, and that's Martin Chaov! guys,
Thank
you can
you
see
very
this
much.
is complete surprise for
Yeah.
him. You have 6 minutes to speak about
Yeah,
that.
but I'm speechless. So unlike what I've been preparing for, you can see that I'm speechless, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, he's speechless.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor. I'm doing this with a lot of passion. I want our community to grow and to be stronger every year. And I want to see more and more people on such kind of events because this is where the best kind of networking happens. This is where we can exchange ideas and challenge ourselves. You know, challenge accepted. Feel free to challenge everything I said about feature flaggings in the speaker's corner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This is the Dev of the Year 2024, Martin Chaov!